Thanks for logging on to Wayne.com for another edition of Inside the Zone. I'm joined by Tom Davis of the News Sentinel. And Tom, every week we kind of go over last week's games and then preview this week's games. Today we're going to cut straight to the chase and just talk about the Week 8 games because it is a blockbuster of a schedule.
Championship week.
It is championship week, and it starts in the SAC. We're going to have Snyder at 6-1. Hosting Bishop Dwenger at 7-0. What do you see in that game?
Well, first of all, hosting is a relative term because it's at Northrop, which is kind of an odd thing. But nonetheless, I'm really anxious about talking about this game because there's a part of me that wants to pull for Snyder and predict the upset. They are so balanced both offensively and defensively. Last week they held Harding to 100 yards rushing, which there are some college teams that probably couldn't do that with Rod Smith on that team. But offensively, Tyler Babilia is a phenomenal quarterback. Ran for 100 yards last week, passed for 100 yards. Jason McGraw is a great running back, rushed for over 100 yards. Snyder can really do it on both sides of the ball. Now, Dwenger can as well. Obviously, they're undefeated and very talented. But, boy, there's a part of me that thinks Snyder might just pull this off.
And when you take a look at what Snyder was able to do last week against a good Harding team, as you mentioned, the defensive side of the football, but they're really more balanced on offense, I think, than some people realize because Babilia had over 100 yards passing, had over 100 yards rushing, and you mentioned McGraw. They've got a Kelsaw, they've got Barnes, they've got guys that can run it and can catch it.
They can. They're really a well-balanced team, and I think they've gotten better each week of the season. And yes, they stubbed their toe against Southside, but really barely losing to Southside, who has proved to be a great team in their own right. Snyder very easily could be undefeated going into this game. I'm telling you, Dwenger has their hands full. They really do.
If you're Dwenger, what are you focusing on? Because I know Coach Schwarzkopf is going to have that team ready come Friday night.
Well, I'm focusing on scoring some points, which sounds simplistic, but they have to score against that defense. If Snyder gets defensive momentum and gets Dwenger to go on some 3-and-outs, then the momentum shifts, and then maybe Dwenger, who hasn't been in a game this year, starts to get a little bit rattled, especially gets into the third and fourth quarters. If it's a close game, Snyder's been there a couple of different times this year. They can handle themselves okay. Dwenger's never been in a close game this year. And, you know, these are 17, 16-year-old kids. The nerves could be getting a little frayed.
If you're taking a look at what Snyder did last week, the way they bottled up Rod Smith, we saw a lot of Devin Rush stopping him in the middle, some good line play as well. Harding is a little more one-dimensional than Dwenger because of the weapons that Dwenger has.
Right.
So what are you going to have to do to maybe change up the game plan or refocus if you're Kurt Tittman and you're running that defense against all the weapons that Dwenger has?
They do have a lot of weapons, but you've got to pick your poison. It sounds awful to say you've got to put it in Wade Markley's hands, but that's what you really do. Wade Markley can kill you. Keep that in mind with his passing. Dwenger's quarterback has had a great year as a first-year starter, but if you're choosing between having to stop Ramon Wright or Wade Markley, you got to try to stop Ramon Wright and stop the running game. Put the pressure on Wade Markley, especially if it's 14-12 in the fourth quarter. Wade Markley's a first-year starter, and you put the game in his hands. Maybe you can get something done that way. But you have to focus on stopping the run first and then worry about the pass after that.
So in your eyes, the biggest key to this ball game will be whether or not Snyder can stop the running game of Bishop Dwenger's offense.
Right. The key is Dwenger being able to score against Snyder's defense. If they can do that without too much difficulty, they'll be okay. Because I think they're better offensively, even though Snyder is very well balanced offensively. I think Dwenger's offense is a notch a little bit higher than Snyder's. So if Snyder has defensive success, then that's going to key the whole momentum shift to them, and I think they can pull this off.
Really? So you give Snyder more than a fighting chance in this
absolutely. This is going to be a dogfight. It really is.
All right. Who do you figure coming out on top of this one? I'm going to put you on the spot.
I'm going to say Snyder wins a very, very close one.
All right. Kurt Tittman, that would be a huge win, especially in this first season, because they haven't been able to get over the hump against Dwenger in the last 3 years. So that would certainly be a feather in the new coach's cap. All right, let's move on to the NHC now. Another championship-type ball game. You're talking Homestead, 7-0, at Norwell, 6-1, 4-1 of the conference with that only loss coming to the Belmont Braves. What is the key in this one? Because Norwell, you take a look at it, Noah Patton can throw it, Jeff Shadow can catch it. They've got some weapons with Brandon Gerber, but it really comes down to Mr. Fichter there with running the football.
Well, he's going to have his hands full running the ball. He's a phenomenal runner. He became the school's all-time leading rusher last week. He's over 3,400 yards now. And yes, Noah Patton can also pass. He threw for 2 touchdowns last week. So Norwell has a nice balanced offense as well. But people always talk about Homestead's offense, and as they should. They're a phenomenal offensive team. But they don't give credit to their defense. Their defense prevented Carroll last week from scoring an offensive touchdown. They got one on special teams. They got a field goal, and that's all they had. Homestead's defense is magnificent, and I really think that Norwell's going to struggle. They struggled against Belmont this year offensively, and they're going to struggle against Homestead's defense. I don't look for this to be that close of a game.
We always seem to be bringing up Zach Terrell, but he had 305 yards passing last week. We've seen him run the ball dynamically against teams like East Noble. He's done a little bit of everything. Is this a case where you're going to need the whole offense clicking? Because Norwell, as we talked weeks before, they've got a great offense, but their defense is pretty solid too.
Well, it is solid, but nobody has shown that they can slow down Homestead's offense this year, and they're so well balanced. Okay, you take Terrell out of the picture. They've got 3 running backs that can run the ball great. And, it's not just Terrell, it's his receivers, it's his offensive line is magnificent. Norwell's going to have their hands full trying to stop that offense. Nobody's been able to do it this year, and it's not going to happen this week as well. Norwell probably won't be able to score every time they have the ball against Homestead's defense, but Homestead has the capability of scoring every time they have the ball.
And so your biggest key is just the ability, not necessarily to stop the Homestead offense, but at least slow it down.
If they can slow it down, that's a victory in and of itself. But even if they slow it down, Homestead's offense is not going to be slowed down. I hate to say there's a key to victory for Norwell. The key to victory to Norwell is maybe Homestead's bus doesn't start. But if they can run the ball with Clay Fichter and have some success that way and manage the clock, I could see maybe hanging in there and keeping it a game. But like I said, I really don't foresee that occurring.
Yeah, with Belmont having 2 losses, I mean, this would wrap up a championship for Homestead if they can do it heading into Week 9.
The difference with this is if indeed, let's say Norwell beats Homestead, they each have 1 loss and they sit atop the standings. If Snyder could beat Dwenger, there's going to be 3 teams with 1 loss. Throw in Southside in the mix of 3 teams sitting on top of that league. So, but yes, this boils down to Norwell Homestead for all the marbles.
All right, as you mentioned, champion.